Hello and welcome to our webinar for Update 1 through 3 steering teams. We're going to be talking today about the interim intervention evaluation. I'm Amy Siegel and I'm the Vice President here at ACA, and I'm joined by Tina Wiseman.
Good day to you. I'm Tina Wiseman and I'm your support person or your strategic planning person or just whatever you need me to be. I'll be there.
Chief cook and bottle washer.
Right.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and turn off our webcams and get started on this. This is one of our shortest webinars, so we shouldn't keep you too long today, and we'll jump right in.
Just as Amy said, this one's short and sweet this month, and so that's a good thing because I'm sure most of you probably have a little bit of a list and you've been checking it twice or three times. So here we go. We're in VTA section 4 and it's mid-year evaluation time of the interventions. And so there are 3 things involved this month, and that's your council discussion, your student body discussion, and then of course putting those things on the online system. And one thing that's really a good idea right now, and Amy, I'm sure, will get into that more when she talks about the council discussion, but this is a great time to use your online council discussion because getting somebody else to a meeting this time of year, I know can be a nightmare. And like I said, I'm sure Amy will talk about that a little bit more when she talks about council discussion in the next slide.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna do your council video. I'm gonna go through this, and as Tina said, this is a great time to use the online council discussion, partly because everybody's so busy this time of year. If you have a meeting scheduled and you got that in everyone's calendar early on, you might have good luck. The other thing that's good about it, and we'll look at it when we look at the online system, is that it's going to tally everybody's responses for you and keep those comments together. This one, just because of the data that you're looking for, just can be a good one to do online just because of the structure of the discussion. So, okay, so I'm going to do this as if we're recording, well, because we are recording the council discussion video. So, welcome council members. This month's discussion looks at how your school's interventions are being implemented. Below, there are 3 sets of questions for each intervention. Be sure to answer all questions. Based on your feedback, your steering team will make any needed adjustments to the interventions and how they're implemented during second semester. Your feedback is very important this time around, so please make sure you answer all the questions. Thanks very much for your participation. And that is it for the council discussion. I guess I should have gone through those questions. What we're going to be asking is the intervention being fully implemented? Is the intervention having the desired impact on adult practices? And what adjustments are needed? So council members will answer those for each of your interventions. So if you have just a handful of interventions, that should go pretty quickly. If you have a lot of interventions, it's going to be 3 questions per intervention. So, but still, doing it online, I think, really does get people through it and gives everybody a chance to tell you what they see in those interventions. We'll go ahead on to the student body discussion.
All righty. As you know, in small groups or as a writing prompt, you can introduce students to 3 to 5 of the school's planned interventions for this year. And remember that when we say in small groups, we don't mean picking kids. That means everybody, but put the kids in groups maybe as a classroom assignment or something, or maybe just not a classroom assignment, maybe just a time for them to talk to each other. And I know at grade level, sometimes that's a little bit tricky because especially if you're Title I school-wide or something, there are going to be a lot of those interventions that are more or less things that you just need to do. And so, of course, you're going to look at your local interventions more that's just more of your homegrown ones. And that's what you want to zero the kids in on as far as the what you're going to be talking about. But you're old veterans at this, you know this. So that's good. And I've been loving these student body discussions. So keep up the good work on that. For each of the interventions, you're going to ask the students, what have you seen that makes you think this intervention is in place? So, what are they seeing out in the hallways and classroom, wherever that intervention is aimed, you can see if it's hitting its target. And then, what can we do to make the implementation of this intervention better? And I would make that we just as broad as I could, because we doesn't have to mean the teachers or the adults. That can mean everybody. So be sure and clarify to the kids, because otherwise they may be telling you everything that you need to do to get it lined out. So be sure and include them on that. The more the merrier. So with those two questions, that's the answers that I'm going to be looking for based on those questions. And like I said, when I open up one of your student discussions and I see that you have invited everybody to the table, that's great. That is absolutely great. So keep doing that. That's a wonderful thing.
Okay, let's take a look at the online system. So for, let me see, we're in update 3 school. This might be different if you're update 1 or 2. But for update 3 schools, we're in section 5. Like I said, the numbering might be different, but look for mid-year intervention evaluation, and that's December. We start as we always do with the webinar, and you're participating in that right now. We'll have the council video and the steering team video linked when we're finished today. We'll have that linked probably by noon on Monday. We give you links to a couple of things that are helpful for this discussion: the root causes interventions crosswalk and the intervention summary. So those are 2 good reports to get out to your folks before they do the discussion. And then as we do down in step 6, we're going to open the council discussion, and that works. Oops, I got logged out. Okay, so we're down here. Can we give you the information about doing your discussion format? And if we want to do just the in-person meeting, just the online discussion, we want to click the no in-person meeting online input on only, and we select a date to close our discussion, and we'll say, let's say with the holidays, we're going to do the 21st, and then we send an invitation. So in this page, if we come back anytime while the discussion is open, we'll have the opportunity to resend discussion invitations. We'll give you that just in case somebody lets you know that they have accidentally deleted their email, or if they think they haven't received it, you can always send it again. So we'll go back to the process page. And then in step 7, we can monitor the discussion. There are two tools in here really for monitoring. One is if we go to the inner edit, these are our steering team members. And we have a special link for steering team members so that they can get in and keep an eye on the discussion. Remember, it's important for steering team members to come in and have a look at the discussion. If someone were to say something kind of inappropriate, you want to be able to manage that conversation. But you also are just, you as steering team members, since you're in this is important information. You want to make sure that people are participating. So that gets you into the discussion. And people might also ask questions. Sometimes we'll see in comments that people will ask questions, and it's good if we can get an answer in the discussion. So we'll go back to the process page. And then the other tool that we have in step 7 is a report that lets you know who's participating. So your council is made up of lots of different kinds of people. Our council is very small because this is just a demo school, but this will tell you the percentage of people from each group who have participated. And if this isn't looking, if your everyone is very low, that top line, you need to get in touch with people and let them know that you need their participation. So you can email council members who have not participated by clicking the email icon up here, and that will give you your email report. And if you're using Outlook at least used to prefer semicolons. So if you check that, it'll give you semicolons instead of commas in your email list. So, and the other thing is that we always want you to use the blind carbon copy field when you're sending out a group email. That's just for everybody's privacy. So you just copy that and paste it into the blind carbon copy line in your email program, and just remind everybody that you want to see their participation in our online discussion, and let them know to get in touch with you if they have any questions or need help with that. So go back to the process page, and we're down to number 8. This is where we're putting in the council summary, and that works like it always does. It'll tell you how many people participate in the discussion if you're using the online, and it'll give you links to the breakdown and to monitor. The nice thing about having that, having those handy is that I'm going to open this link in a new tab. If I'm wanting to look at my discussion while I'm writing my notes and putting in my data from this, I can have that open in another window and come back to my discussion. So you're just going to be summarizing here your findings from that discussion. Okay. And we'll have a section again for each of your interventions. So that's the, oops. So yeah, just make sure you're filling in all the boxes. And then this is information that you're going to use if you as a steering team, after you have all the discussion information, if there is an intervention that doesn't seem to be getting into place or people really aren't aware of it, you're going to want to make some adjustments second semester. If people are needing more resources, if whoever was in charge of that just hasn't been able to get that in place for whatever reason, you want to ask some questions, you want to make some adjustments, and just make sure that you're getting those interventions in place, because if you don't implement your intervention fully, then you can't expect there to be a change. So that's why this discussion is important. So your student body summary, we give you the link to download the prompt, and then just like the council discussion summary, you have your form to fill in with your meeting minutes here. Okay. Rubric items are linked down below. It's always a good idea to be familiar with those before you start your work. So go over those and you'll know exactly what Tina's looking for this month. And that's it for your online tools for the month of December.
One thing I wanted to add to that, and Amy, if you've already said it, I apologize that I am reiterating. But if you do the online discussion with the council, it will, of course, it takes its own attendance, so to speak. So it will, that person will be identified as to whether they're, what position they have. If you have an in-house meeting, it's really important that you check off who's who's there from the community, who are teachers and all this and that, because that's one of the rubric items, is that I always check for the various council members and who was represented. And sometimes I just can't tell. And so that's usually why I leave that check blank. So if if you're really into that and you want that check, then make sure. And usually I'll say meets criteria, see comments, and I would say, please tell, since I can't tell specifically who's there, please share this information with whoever it was that didn't attend. Because if your community falls off, as well as I do, that they're not gonna have an interest in this like they need to, because they're big stakeholders in this, whether they realize it or not. And so you're gonna have to nudge and encourage it once in a while. So if you can keep that attendance going, then I'll get off your back for one thing, because then I know that they're there, and so I'm not reminding you of something that's there. And if I am reminding you and you're thinking, why does she keep reminding me? It's because I can't see it when there's an in-house meeting unless you take the attendance. So I hope that makes sense. If not, it's question time. So is there anybody that doesn't make sense to, or anything else that you have a question about? You can type it in or raise your hand there virtually, or we'll wait here a couple minutes and see.
There's a little hand on your control panel, and if you click on the hand, that raises your hand, and we can unmute your microphone so that you can ask your question.
And we won't hum the Jeopardy song.
No, we won't.
Just in our heads.
Right. If questions come up later, well, I guess that takes us to the next slide.
There's not much later.
Yeah. Well, not in the presentation, but if questions come up start your work, call Tina.
That's how you get it answered, right? So if you need help, be sure, as always, get in touch. We're at that halfway point practically, so we can turn that 5-minute into a 5-second rule anytime. I am going to give you an additional text number that you can get in touch with me. I prefer to not have calls on there, but if you need to text to me, you can text me at 812-789-3107. And sometimes that is a really quick way to get in touch with me if it's something that just can't wait, or if you don't have any time to work on it until the weekend or something like that. If I'm away from my regular computer, it'll pop up on my phone. But if you wouldn't use that to call, I'd really appreciate it. So, but texting, perfectly fine. And otherwise, always call me 349-4142. I'm extension 1003. Leave a message, or always wiseman@asainstitute.org. Be happy to help. Always glad to hear from you.
Thank you all so much for attending today. And like Tina said, if you need anything, please be in touch.